Well, hello, hello. Welcome back to Chat with me. My name's Eddie. If this is your first show you're listening to, hi. For those of you who have listened to a couple or know me personally, yeah, here I am. I'm back at it. I think this would be episode 5, but in my little itty bitty tiny series, I guess you could call it, on Showing Grace, this is part 4. Um, each one, I keep saying I'm going to keep these short, I'm going to keep these small, but I keep extending it longer and longer and longer. So you want to know what? We're just going to sit down and enjoy this ride because I got a few extra little things I want to talk about in this one. So kind of four or three major bullet points. All these numbers are confusing me. But I want to talk about allowing yourself to rest. Something I have a lot of trouble doing. Not to sound hypocritical, but in this process, for anybody, you're going to have those setbacks. You're going to slip, you're going to fall, you're going to sit down and wait. The past is going to catch up with you, things like that. So all the fancy trendy cliche trending statements about self-healing and self-love journeys, healing journeys, things of that nature. But anywho, I digress. Moving on. So we're going to talk a little bit about allowing yourself to rest. Again, something I need to work on a lot. Again, and still. Also, we got to start showing ourselves more gratitude. So I'm gonna hit on that as well. But I also want to kind of wrap it up today with not just the podcast episode, but the Showing Grace little mini series, to reassess and manage your expectations. So we're gonna go ahead and start kicking this into gear here. So yeah, we're gonna start off with, or I'm gonna start off with allowing yourself to rest. What the hell is rest? So, I mean, I'm a 44-year-old man. I don't what man. Oh, jeez, I think I've been living in the South a little too long. No offense to my Southern peeps. I love y'all. I was born in PA. I lived up north for many years. Lived in the South longer, but I still like to sound less Southern. But I've got some people in my life who are like, oh my gosh, you sound so Southern. I'm like, no, I don't. But I guess I have a slight hint of Southern in the way I speak. So, anywho, I digress. Moving forward again. So, allowing yourself to rest. As a 44-year-old man, I can only speak about me being a man because that's what I am. So whatever you are, I'm sure you probably can relate to this. Again, divorced twice. I have 3 kids, 2 grown, 1 6-year-old. Job, podcast, write books, do TikToks, other social media posts. I'm helping a friend with his business, social media stuff. I don't know why. I'm not that good at it. But he trusts me. Possibly his mistake. But so I do a lot of these things. Plus, getting back into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a purple belt with 2 white stripes. Some of y'all might know what that means. Some of y'all might have no clue. I'll just say this. It means that brown belt, that glorious brown belt is getting closer to being within reach. A dream, a goal of mine. After that, of course, there's the other one of, the next 4 stripes and then the black belt. So when do I rest? I don't know. I barely sleep. But this isn't really about rest as in sleep, I mean, we all have a lot of things to do. We all have our families. If you're married, you've got your spouse. And if you're married, kudos to you. Keep working on that marriage and keep making that thing grow. And I wish you many, 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 many years of happy marriage. You're going to have the downsides, obviously, but that's fine. In this little series, you can apply some of these things, to your marriage and whatnot. So, and yes, even after 2 divorces, I still believe in marriage. Marriage is a beautiful thing. Okay, I gotta stop. I'm about to go on a tangent on something that has not, well, anyway, I'm gonna focus back. Allow yourself rest. Come on, Eddie. Focus. Okay. Maybe I should stop recording and restart this. Nah, we're just going to keep going. So allowing yourself rest. It's hard to find that time in your busy life, whether you're single, whether you're divorced and raising kids on your own, you're divorced and you have shared custody. I mean, I could sit here for an hour and talk about all the things in life that would make it difficult for you to be able to rest. You could have insomnia. Hey, I mean, the list goes on and on. But here's the crazy thing, in my opinion, and this is at least for me, and maybe some of y'all can relate to this, but growing up, I was taught that I earn what I work for, and that successful people work the hardest, which is often true. And I think in a lot of cases it's true. But I look back at my life and I'm like, man, I've busted my butt. I busted my butt in the martial arts. I busted my butt in, becoming a personal trainer. I busted my butt with my gym that I opened in jiu-jitsu school. I busted my butt on writing my books, and I worked so hard. Where's my success? Well, success is a journey, not the destination, but we can get into that a little bit later. But we well, at least me, but I would say we, because I'm sure there's people out there. I'm not that fucking special. I'm not the only one thinking this or feeling this. But what we tend to forget is that hard work and overworking are not synonymous. Ooh, that was a big word. I feel fancy having said that. That just popped in my head. They are not synonymous. And I probably mispronounced it. So if I did, you English majors out there, hit me up and let me know how to properly say that word. But anyway, overworking is often, dare I say, glamorized. People feel that, they're special because they overwork, or, oh my gosh, Eddie, you're so amazing. Look at how much work you do. No, I'm stupid. I overwork. I overwork a lot. And there's nothing glamorous about it. I work myself to the bone on a lot of things, and, it ends up sometimes crumbling. Whether it's my fault, outside influence, combination thereof, it falls apart because I overworked. I got tired. I started having to slack a little bit because I had no more energy. I couldn't focus, things like that. So overworking yourself, whether it's mentally or physically, can do a lot of damage. It can take a serious toll on mental health, physical health, and emotional health. So, just be wary of that, or cognizant of that. If you find yourself while you're working hard at something or on something, that if you start to overwork yourself, it's going to take its toll. So that's, why it's imperative that you allow yourself rest. Now, okay, I should have done a disclaimer maybe, but here it is. I'm not saying quit your job. I'm also not saying to stop working hard. I'm simply stating that it's okay to show yourself some grace by taking a break. Just a break. It could be 15 minutes, an hour, a day, a week, but your mind and body needs it, and it's going to thank you. When I worked in corporate America, we would, I was in a call center, and, 8 to 5, sitting on the phone in your cubicle, blah, 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 next call, blah, 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 next call. It was daunting, but our management staff, and when I became a manager, we were very focused on, okay, y'all need to take a 15-minute break in the morning. And yes, this was also, labor laws, things like that, but I'm no labor law attorney, so I can't talk about the laws because I don't know them fully. But we would make sure that our reps would take a 15-minute break, or take their 15-minute break. And my team of management, they were strange about it. They were like, get away from the desk. Get away from the computer. Actually take that break. If it's nice out, go outside, go to the break room, do something to get away from the spot for 15 minutes. Come back, work, go to lunch. Come back, work, take a 15-minute break. Come back, work, go home. And yeah, it gets daunting, and that can be taxing as well and drain you as well. But imagine what it would be like at work if you didn't take those little breaks. If you didn't take your lunch break away from your work desk, things like that. So, allow yourself that time. If you have to, most of us have a phone that you can set an alarm on or a reminder on. Set reminders. Take a break. And set it at times that you know you can typically take a break. Take a break. And just step away from what it is you're doing. Not quit on it, but just, if you're at the computer, you need that break, get up, walk away, go outside, go to the kitchen, go to the break room, wherever you're at. Take those breaks. Allow yourself that time to rest and detox from what it was you were doing. Now, I've honestly, even with jiu-jitsu, even with the martial arts, working out, I've taken breaks. And admittedly, sometimes I started to view it as I had quit, but I've been able to pull myself out. It's like, no, I'm not quitting. That break was a little longer than I had anticipated. And then I get back into those things because those things are important to me. Those goals, working out, staying healthy physically, plus working out in jiu-jitsu helps with, my mental health and my emotional health. So, point is just allow yourself, don't beat yourself up for resting, again, giving yourself some grace by taking that break. Now, kind of jumping into, showing gratitude. That's another great way to show grace to yourself, is to just simply be grateful, Put attention to good rather than bad. And I know that we talked about that in another episode. You don't have to always focus on the negative. Focus on the good things. Like I talked about, write some good things down about yourself, write some achievements down. And if you're having trouble putting attention on good things, go back to that piece of paper or that journal. Or if you use a computer and you've typed it out, go read those things. Remind yourself of the good things. I've found that journaling, and I'm not a huge journaler. Yeah, journaler. I was about to say journalist, but that's different. I'm not a huge personal journaler. I've done it, did it for a year and a half, did wonders, and I was like, I got this. So I stopped doing it, of course, which is not helpful. If you're doing something that's working and helping you, show yourself gratitude, keep doing it. Otherwise, you're going to stumble and you're going to stop showing yourself some gratitude. So the all the work will feel like nothing. You'll feel like you're starting back over. So, which I have done recently, started journaling again and showing myself some gratitude. As simple as I wrote down when I started this podcast, I started my podcast on this date. Woohoo! Yay! Celebrate! So, and it made me feel better. And I say that you don't have to do exactly what I'm saying to do. Just find ways that work for you, because there's really, in my opinion, no wrong or right way to do it. It's just a different way of showing yourself gratitude. I'm not that creative of a person. So what I did was I had to look up, ways to show yourself gratitude, and there's a bunch of different ways of doing it. And there's some people out there that are more creative. So you're probably going to come up with better ways for you, or maybe better ways for me. So share ways that you show yourself gratitude. Remember, I'm all over social media. So, but here were a few ideas and ways to practice gratitude. Like I said, I made a journal. Now some people say, name it your gratitude journal. I just went out and bought a spiral notebook from Walmart and just started writing crap down, but you can label it, you can pretty it up, put stickers, but just purchase that journal or notebook solely dedicated to you and your expressions of gratitude. Write in it whatever you want. But in my opinion, for it to be an effective practice, the journaling, try to write in it at least once a day. Okay. I've started, some days I'll write once, typically right before I go to bed, because I do procrastinate a bit, but I'll write stuff in there, right before I go to bed. But I do my best to do this at least once a week. Now that takes up more time, because I'm like, Monday this, Tuesday that, da-da-da-da-da-da. So it takes more time out of that one day, whereas I feel better if I just take a few minutes each day and write things down. And to be honest, there are some days where I get a little overwhelmed with everything that I've got to do and have going on, or maybe I'll take too much of a break and I'll run out of time. straight up forget, to write stuff down. So it's okay, but I make sure that I do it at least once a week, And also I have reminders. Write down in your journal. What victories did you have today? Yeah, I've got all these little alarms that go off, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll get to that later. I'll get to that later. I'll get to that later. And then I should probably set another one that says, it's later. Get back to it. So, another creative thing that I found on the interwebs was to create a gratitude jar. I'm like, okay, that's interesting, like a cuss jar or a swear jar, But every day, write down things you are grateful for on just a strip of paper and place it in the jar. Similar to the journaling, whenever you need a reminder of like your blessings, the victories, you can go grab a piece of paper and just read it. You could do it in your head, you could do it quietly, you could whisper it, or you could say it out loud, or you could get in front of a mirror and like belt it out, say it with your chest. I think that was Kevin Hart that said say it with your chest. I don't remember. But anyway, any way that you want, just read it. Read it, remind yourself of those things. Another thing that I found, and I haven't done this, maybe I will see how it works for me, but it was come up with a gratitude mantra. I was like, oh, that sounds fun. Create a gratitude mantra or chant that you can say out loud or silently to yourself. And if you meditate, you could do this, in your meditation time, But whenever you need it, just say it, repeat it to yourself. I talk to myself enough, and I'm sitting here doing it in front of a microphone right now. But yeah. So that's another idea. If that's kind of your vibe, if that's the way you like to do things. I know for a while I used to, before work, I would stand in front of the mirror and stand like Superman and tell myself, you got this, you can do it. And, I felt goofy, I felt silly doing it, but it kind of worked. I started changing up the way that I said things, to be a little more realistic and feel like I was not lying to myself as much, But yeah, so you could come up with your gratitude mantra or chant. That might help you. Another thing that I found, and I haven't done this in a long time. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine that I met through a men's group on Facebook, he and I do this typically. Oh, hey, we might need to start this soon. Typically every November. He and I do this throughout the month of November. But it's express 3 things you are grateful for. Every day come up with 3 things that you're grateful for. So when I tried this on my own, I fell short. That's why every November, my friend and I, on November 1st, we start this. We text each other, We'll text each other first thing in the morning. Typically, we do it by lunchtime at least. Okay, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you guys and say every morning I get up and I do this at 7 o'clock in the morning. No, but we would do it in the morning before lunchtime. But we would text each other 3 things we were grateful for that day. Some people do it at night. I've suggested to clients when they write this stuff down to read it out loud in the morning, and then again, like when they wake up, and then do it again right before they go to bed. Because it is a very reassuring thing to do. Those are kind of like the last thoughts on your mind as you go to sleep, And a lot of my clients that I've worked with as a personal coach, they've said it worked wonders for them. So, hey, go for it. I don't do it at night typically. There's some times where I'm like, huh. And, I'll kind of repeat them in my head, and it's a great feeling. So it's probably something I should do more of for myself, And obviously you don't have to do every single thing here. Hey, you got a life. You've got, again, you've got a spouse. You've got a significant other that you're spending time with. You've got kids. You've got cleaning to do, laundry to do. You got to change the oil on the car. But finding a couple of these little things to do in your life on a daily basis or weekly basis, it's going to assist in that release of, that you get from showing yourself grace, getting out of that negative and pulling more into that positive life, that positive mindset. And remember, none of us are perfect. We're not going to be able to do this every day, every second. Life does get in the way, but that's when you just show yourself that grace, and you're like, okay, I missed a day, back on track, not that big of a deal. But yeah, so like I said, those are just some of the ideas. I'm sure you could go to Pinterest, Google it. You'll find a bunch of things. And hey, for you creative people, you're going to find other ways of doing it, and find other little things to assist in showing yourself that gratitude, which again is a great way of showing grace to yourself. Now the last little thing I want to talk about, and again this little mini series of showing grace, is to reassess and manage your expectations. Ooh, expectations, man. That's a fun one, because a lot of us will set unrealistic expectations. That's me. I am the self-proclaimed king of setting unrealistic expectations. That was me. That was the past Eddie. The new Eddie is getting better at that, But I found, many times our feelings of disappointment are self-imposed. Let me try to restate that. Most of the time, my feelings of disappointment were self-imposed due to my unrealistic expectations that I placed on myself. And yes, admittedly, others. These expectations are they kind of stem from like perfectionism. Even though I sit here and I state all the time, I'm not perfect. But due to a lot of influences from within and outside influences, I felt like I had to be perfect, even though that was impossible. That was a lot of stress to put on myself as a kid, and to have put on me as a kid. And I decided I'm Superman, so I'm carrying this crap with me into adulthood, into every relationship, friendship, marriage, etc. So when I talk about my divorces and breakups and all the negativity in my life, the common denominator in every negative situation in my life has been me. And with that, me setting unrealistic expectations. So if you find yourself setting those high expectations, and or unrealistic expectations, it's important to stop. Well, how do I do that, Eddie? Well, heck, I don't know. For me, it is writing things down and then going back and rereading it and reassessing it and self-reflection. That's just what works for me. To see, well, hey, Eddie, come on. There is no way at your age, with your schedule, that you're going to be able to train enough to get that black belt in jiu-jitsu in the next 2 years. It's just not going to happen. So to write that down as one of my expectations in life, it's impossible. It's unrealistic. I would have to, well, okay, it's not impossible. But if you, because, hey, if I won the lotto and didn't have to work, and, or if my books started selling thousands a month, I'd have the money to free up more time. I could train more. But due to the circumstances in my life, if none of that changes, that is an unrealistic expectation with my current circumstances. So I have to reevaluate, reassess, and then say, okay, I'll get my third stripe on my purple belt within the next year. Because with the number of classes I have to take, the amount of mat time I have to have, that is a realistic expectation. Even if I have to miss a couple classes here and there. But the great thing is, I also tell myself, well, hey, if I get sick for 2 weeks, I can still do that. I can still obtain that stripe within a year. And heck, maybe a better way of doing it would be, hey, in 3 years I'm gonna have another stripe. That's giving myself too much leeway. So, I want to pressure myself a little bit, but not too much. So I know how to get to the black belt. I got to break that down into those steps. Now I'm getting into goal setting, but it also has to do with expectations. You know, Again, I've said, I'm single from the perspective of I'm not married. You know, when I go to the doctor and it's like, are you married, single? I check single. Not saying there's not a person that I'm talking to, but I'm not saying there is. So, um, but it's just I'm not married, so that's what I view as I'm single. In the dating world. Not that you guys are asking about the dating world. That's a tangent. So I do my daily life, and I pay the bills, I work, I earn the money, and I take care of my 6 year old when he's with me. I take care of myself. Nobody's doing my laundry. Nobody's cooking Eddie dinner or anything like that. Eddie's not cooking anybody dinner. So from that perspective, I'm single. So when things happen here in my life, I have to take care of that on my own. So I have to take into account all those things when I'm setting my expectations, you know. But also with that, if there was somebody in my life, you know, I can't sit there and say, hey, this woman, her and I are getting married in the next 6 months, and we're going to have a perfect marriage, and blah, blah, blah. No, 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 no. I've got to be realistic. I've got a kid. I've got an ex-wife that's involved in his life. I have to reassess the situation. I have to say, okay, here, and what about their situation? Does she have a kid or kids? So how are we going to navigate all of this? Because the kids got to get, not everybody's going to get along, but the kids need to be introduced to each other. We need to make sure that my situation, her situation, can change either way. To mesh with each other. Does it need to change? So I've also got to learn her. I've got to learn her kid or kids. Does she have an ex that's involved? I have to make sure that I mesh with that. I'm now getting into relationship advice, which is not something I was meaning to do. But I think you guys get the point. I can't sit there and say I'm just going to run across somebody, instantly fall in love. They're going to fall in love with me and everything's going to be perfect. There's going to be hiccups. So I need to give them time and me time to assess the situation and see if this is something that they want and that I want, and can we work this together to be successful within that relationship. Probably the worst rambling and worst example, but that's what popped into my head. That's what you guys are stuck with. So, that and a jiu-jitsu black belt. Wow. So, but I think you guys get the point there. And with all this, I'm not suggesting that you stop setting standards for yourself. But if you're expecting too much from yourself, take a step back. Show yourself that grace. Reassess your expectations. Make sure they're realistic and provide space for growth and opportunity. And these things here could also be used towards another person in your life. But this should result in a more relaxing environment in your life, as well as give you some more contentment in your life. So, I'm hoping, seriously hoping, that after listening to this rambling and the other ramblings that I did on this topic, that you choose to give yourself grace. Okay? And nothing worth having in life is going to be easy. So this isn't going to be easy for you to do continuously. It's just a matter of getting back up and doing it again when you falter, It can be done. Just remember, typically, nothing shines 24 hours a day. Nothing. I don't know, maybe the sun does, but it doesn't shine 24/7, 24 hours a day where you're at, typically. So, but it is always shining, on the other side of the earth, and then it's there and rotating. But now that's more stuff I don't know much about. But so the point is, you're gonna have setbacks, you're gonna falter, you're gonna slip. But if you get in the habit of, on a slightly regular basis, showing yourself grace, you're going to be able to pull yourself back into doing it more regularly, And even if it's just showing yourself a little tiny bit more today, and a little bit more tomorrow, and a little bit more the next day, it's going to start building. I believe, the saying goes, it takes 30 days to build a new habit. I think it's 60 days or is it 90 days? We're going to go with 90, just that makes it longer. 30 days to build a new habit. I believe it's 60 or 90 days to quit an old habit, and 120 days to make a lifestyle change. I probably should have looked that up before I regurgitated that here, but I think you guys get the picture. Give yourself time, show yourself grace, give yourself time to make this a habit, and then give yourself time to get rid of old habits, and give yourself more time to get rid of those old habits, and then give yourself more time to make this all a lifestyle change, because you're worth it. The people in your life are worth this change and this time and this effort, and your future is worth it as well. So thank you again for listening to my rambling. I hope this helps a little tiny bit in your life and your journey to trying to create a better you, a better life for you and your loved ones. So again and again and again, thank you all so much, and much love. And on that note, that's a wrap. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you enjoyed this and you want to continue to support the page, please click follow or subscribe, or whatever the platform you're listening on says. Feel free to share this to other people that might find it entertaining or, heck, educational, I dare say. But, if you also want to continue to find other ways to support me and the podcast, you can head on over to my Beacons link. That's beacons.ai/Eddie Bowers. I also have a Patreon page. If you go over to patreon.com, just type in chat with me, and that'll take you to the page. There are a few different membership programs there. Do not feel obligated. Of course, I'd appreciate it, but you can just follow it there as well and see some updates. I do things that are just to the public, as well as some special things for members there. Every little bit counts. Every little bit helps. But the biggest thing is just you guys listening and finding me on social media and interacting with me. So again, I appreciate each and every one of you. Much love, and have an amazing morning, afternoon, day, evening, whatever time it is that you are listening to this. I appreciate you. Have an amazing day. And remember, you're worth it.